In this video, we're going to try and determine whether or not one of my friend's table saw blades actually needs to be resharpened or not. Because I was talking to him the other day and he was saying that things were burning when he was making cuts. I happened to be at his house yesterday and I just kind of swiped it from his garage and said, hey, I'm gonna go do a video on this and see what happens. So we're gonna make some test cuts through some hard maple, see if it burns or not, and see if we can determine whether or not it needs to be sharpened or if there's another solution. So let's first take a little peek at this blade because I noticed a few things with it. If I look at this one side here, it actually looks like it's possibly been spinning on the arbor. I'm not just quite certain, but it looks to be in pretty rough shape. And it's a 50 tooth combination blade, so theoretically we should be able to use it for both ripping and cross cutting. And if you take a peek at the teeth on this, they're actually fairly dirty and burned. I don't know how well that's going to come through, but I think you can see they're actually looking pretty rough, very, very dirty, and particularly this one side of the blade here. So let's put this in my table saw, let's see how it works, and get a sense of where our starting point is here. So I have some offcuts from another one of my friend's projects that he's working on in my shop, and some hard maple. And I've already got it cross cut nice and straight on this one side. So I'm just going to use that up against the fence and we'll make a cross cut. So yeah, that's definitely burning and I wouldn't expect that. I don't think I was going all that slow. Now let's just try to do a rip cut, and this is a little bit of a thicker piece than what that thin panel was. So let's see if it can do a rip cut. So yeah, once again, we're getting some good burning with that cut. What are we going to do about this? Well, I think the first thing we're going to try is really giving this blade a really good cleaning. So let's take this thing out of here and get it all cleaned up. Now, I haven't worn this apron in very many videos, maybe none of them, I'm not certain, but my girlfriend's in the process of making this for me, and the next step is going to be to add some pockets to be able to put some different tools. So let me know down in the comments what kinds of things you like to keep on your apron, and if you think she's doing a good job or not, because I'm sure she'd like to hear some good comments, or some bad ones if you have them too, but I might have to delete those ones. So to clean the blades, you can actually use a lot of different products. I prefer to use Super Clean. It's a degreaser that I can get at the local hardware store or at the automotive center here at my hometown. And I learned about Super Clean from somebody who used to sharpen my saw blades actually many, many years ago. So I've kind of known about it for probably 10 years at least. And just want to get a nice good amount of it on there, and you can already see that this is working quite nicely. Just let that soak in for about maybe 5 minutes. There's no sense scrubbing or doing anything at the present time. You can already see some of the junk coming off of this blade. So without any scrubbing whatsoever, like just look at all this junk coming off of it already. So we're just gonna let that sit for about 5 minutes. I'll turn the camera off and yeah, we'll come back to this shortly. I just like to use a sponge just to clean the bulk of the surface of this blade off. And sometimes I find you might have to give it a second scrub. Definitely I can tell that these teeth are coming quite a bit cleaner already. And I like to kind of hit them from both sides here. So we'll go around all one side. And all of that gunk and the pitch from the wood and all the resins in the wood, it comes off very, very easily, actually. You almost don't have to work at this at all once you've let that soak for a few minutes. And to be quite honest, off camera, I only let it soak for about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. I didn't even let it go a full 5 minutes because it looked to me like things were breaking down and dissolving quite easily or quite quickly. And I'm trying to angle my nylon bristle brush right against the face of these teeth. They're already looking very, very chrome-like and very shiny. And we'll flip over and we'll do the other side as well. And just so I can keep track of where I am, I'll start close to the 12 o'clock position on here. And I am wearing gloves because this Super Clean is somewhat corrosive. It says on the label it is biodegradable, so you can just rinse it right down the sink when you're done. But these teeth are looking way better, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get some great cuts with this once we reinstall this blade. And then I like to go along the top edge of them too, because I don't think we got that really well by going around the perimeter how I did. All in, we're only going to have about 5 or 7 minutes invested by the time we remove the blade from the saw, get it soaking in some Super Clean, scrub it up, rinse it off, and get it reinstalled. I'm not really certain what my friend was doing to get this thing looking like it is spinning on the arbor right here with these swirls. I don't get this. Maybe if he ends up watching the video, he can tell me, but that's not going to come off. It could be rust even, possibly. I'm not certain. And this just goes to show you what a few minutes of cleaning can do for a saw blade. And when you get rid of all that pitch, it actually allows the teeth that have this nice 90-degree edge on the sides to have that 90-degree edge rather than having an artificially rounded over edge or a dull edge on the sides of these teeth. So this should perform a lot better than how it did just a few moments ago. So let's give it a try. So let's start with a rip cut and we'll see how that goes. So much to my surprise, we're still getting some burning actually. Let's try the cross-cut cut here. So I'm trying to go very fast just to minimize the burning, and I'm still actually getting burning. All right, so as you can see, I am getting some burning still on these cuts after cleaning that blade. So that leads me to think there's one of two other problems. One is the blade truly does need to be sharpened, or the one thing that I'm not a big fan of with that particular blade is 50 teeth. And they're all ground in a cross-cut configuration, but then there is a very large gullet periodically around the perimeter of that blade to help clear some sawdust away. So it is marketed as a combination blade, but I think it's maybe just a poor design in my opinion for a saw blade. So I think the next step is let's just touch it up on the sharpener and see what happens, because we've already made it this far, so let's keep going. All right, let's start by making the rip cut. So obviously we're still getting burning even after we've sharpened that 50 tooth combination blade. So that's not ideal. All right, so after resharpening this blade, it really didn't perform any better. So I think the only thing we can do is to make some cuts using the blades that I own, which are the 24 tooth rip and the 60 tooth crosscut blade, also by the same manufacturer, Freud or Diablo. So let's make some cuts with these and get some comparisons, and we'll see if they burn whatsoever in those same pieces of maple that this blade is just incapable of getting a nice, crisp, unburnt cut on. Okay, so I've got the 24 tooth ripping blade in here just as a comparison to see if I get any burning like what I seem to be getting with that 50 tooth combination blade. So I'm not getting any burning with that 24 tooth ripping blade, and obviously on this crosscut I'm getting some breakout on the end, but that's just because that blade's not designed to do that. And just out of curiosity, I think we're going to change to the 60 tooth blade that I have as well, just to see what kind of cut quality we get, because I'm starting to think that that 50 tooth combination blade of my friends, this one here, is just a poor design for some reason or another. Okay, let's start with the crosscut. So there you have it. I'm not getting any burning using that 60 tooth crosscut as a rip or as a crosscut blade. Okay, so what are my final thoughts from this bit of an experiment that I did tonight? You know, it's a well-known fact among woodworkers that if you have a dirty saw blade with a lot of pitch from wood and resin from wood on the teeth, that it's probably going to burn when you go through a cut, just because it's not a very sharp, keen edge on those dirty surfaces on those teeth, especially on the corners where you need them to be nice and crisp to sever the wood fibers. Now, I did take this blade of my friend's and I cleaned it all up. It performed better. It still did burn. And I even took it a step farther and I sharpened it, and it really didn't make any additional benefit whatsoever. So what's the problem with that 50 tooth blade? You know, if we compare it to the 24 or the 60 tooth saw blade, it's got the same tooth geometry for each individual tooth as this 24 tooth rip blade, but the gullets are not as deep. So that's one thing. So it's not able to clear the sawdust out and keep the blade running cool through the wood. The other thing is there's just more teeth, and that in and amongst itself is going to cause more burning, generally speaking, if you're doing a rip. Not on a crosscut though. So I think this is just a generally poor blade design. So I would personally just tell you to stay away from a 50 tooth combination blade if it's like this. I think a much better choice for saw blades is going to be purchasing a dedicated 24 tooth rip and a 60 tooth crosscut blade. Now, I talked about these a little bit in the Christmas gifts for woodworkers video a few weeks ago, so I'm going to stand by what I just said because I've kind of put it to the test here tonight using my friend's 50 tooth combination blades. So yeah, I think the best thing you can do is avoid that 50 tooth combination blade. If you've had good luck with it, leave me a comment down below, but I just don't see that blade being a very good blade in the long run for fine furniture building or fine woodworking whatsoever. So let me know what you think about the video. I hope you liked it, and until next time, go build something beautiful.